can't think of any other genres of music that render so many instruments, equipment, and even the players obsolete than metal. Nature of the beast and the times, I guess.
Dude, what? You've never heard of hip-hop? Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of SMG Viewers Comments, my show where I try and answer your comments and questions about recording and guitar and amps and now a little bit of video as well. To the best of my ability, you've got a question, I want to answer it. Please leave a comment below. If it has any kind of value, I will try and put it on the show. Anyway, before we get started here, just want to give a shout out that this week is quote unquote sponsored by my company, Spectre Digital. We've finally got a free trial of the SMG Cockblocker plugin. That took a little bit longer to get ready than we were hoping for. So all of you guys who've wanted to try it out but don't want to drop the money without at least taking it for a test spin, hey, we thought of you. It's finally available. Gonna have some details on that in a few minutes. Anyway, let's get right to it.
Trying to play an electric guitar via a Scarlett 2 i4 through the computer using Bias Amp 2 64-bit software and Yamaha HS8 monitors. The latency is terrible and unplayable. Any advice on how to make this combination usable would be appreciated.
That, my friend, sounds like a driver issue. Because you're complaining about low latency, I'm going to take a wild guess that you're on a PC. Wow, big surprise there. As a PC recording guy for years and years, in fact, decades, 99% of the issues you're going to have on a PC, whether it be audio interfaces or anything else you're trying to fucking plug into it, are down to the drivers. So ask yourself this, did you install the ASIO drivers, the audio system in-out drivers? And if you're scratching your head going, well, what's that? You definitely didn't install them. I'd say go back to your Focusrite box that you pulled the thing out of and see if there's any kind of instructions about downloading drivers. If not, head on over to the Focusrite website and download the drivers there. They shouldn't be too difficult to find. I mean, like, seriously, they try and make this shit as easy as possible. You know, you might have to just read a little bit to get things going correctly, though. This isn't Mac where you just plug it in and it fucking works. The other thing you got to check for is the latency settings you have on your DAW. You didn't tell me what DAW you have, so I can't exactly point you in what direction to go there, and other than go check out some forums that are using your DAW and maybe you can get some help there as well. Good luck, man. Glad you came here, but as always, if all else fails, try reading the fucking manual. That might help.
This again confirms how much I suck as a musician and as an artist. I stopped making videos because I have no sense of aesthetics for visual stuff, but totally stressing me out. I was never lazy about it, but I'm way too dumb to adjust the frame rates and all that jazz. Same with recording audio. I've spent years learning how to do it, and it still only turns out good when I'm not the one pushing the buttons. Also, I think in today's world, people should have decency to put out deluxe content or none at all. I'm choosing the latter since I can't achieve the first. I'm also broke and can't afford a decent camera anymore. Time to sell my guitar, LOL.
Oh, dude, that is just wrong on so many fucking levels. All right. Here's the thing. You need to be bad at something before you can become good at it. I was terrible at my first few videos. In fact, I didn't even want to do YouTube. I wanted to do music videos. Turns out I was really fucking terrible at that. Pretty decent with the band sequences, but when it came to telling a story with a music video, I was fucking awful at it. And that's why, you know, you go to friends like my friend Mike, who I just did a video with there a couple weeks ago if you want a music video done. I think you're missing the overall point here is, yeah, you need time to be bad before you're good. And you might put out video after video after video where nobody's going to pay attention. I had my film school background to fall upon where I made a lot of my mistakes when I was in film school. And so when I did my first video out of the gate, it looked pretty good, but I still ran into a lot of issues with flip screens and all that kind of crap. But overall though, I kept going at it and refined my process and got better and better and better and better. Now, I think the don't put anything out but deluxe content is just kind of counterproductive and really holding yourself back. I'd say put out as much content as you can, and as you get better, hopefully people will gravitate towards what you're doing. Don't shoot yourself in the foot before you even take a step, my friend.
It sounds like shit, and it still sounds like shit. I need something more descriptive for the cab sims, like 2x10, 4x12, etc. Not modern gore. It tells me nothing.
Oh, of course you're talking about Christian Cola's awesome fucking Grindstein plugin. Here's the thing, I like the names because I don't need to know exactly what the hell it does. I just want to know, if I turn it this way, how's it going to sound? I don't need it to tell me it's a 4x10 or a 4x12 or a 1x12. They're just fucking numbers and they don't fucking matter. They really fucking don't. Use your ears. Stop listening with your eyes. Try that. You just might get some good results.
Question for you guys. Why quad track rather than just applying the plugin to duplicate double tracks?
Oh, the old, I'm too fucking lazy to record 4 tracks. Why do I need to work hard at something? Simply put, the short version is it's because it's gonna fucking sound better! Duh! The long version is it's gonna fucking sound better! No, seriously. If you double track something, that's fine, but if you copy and paste the tracks, it's just gonna not add any dimension or depth. Quad track guitars are going to sound pretty cool. The downside of that is you have to be a very tight rhythm player to pull it off convincingly. You can definitely get away with 2 tracks. There's no doubt about that. But if you've got quad tracked and then you can do 2 glorious tube amp type tracks and then 2 with something like the Grindstein, you get some pretty fucking amazing results like I showed on Tuesday's video, this clip here. Now, if only we can get the video looking well, we might be onto something.
Hey Glenn, finally got my Quad Cortex. Definitely worth the hype. That said, leads to a question I would appreciate the option. Optimal setup solution. I realize that flat frequency response speakers to probably carry the amp, sim, and IRs. If I run it through the front and back of an amp, it colors the sound. Somehow, even though I feel the first way is the way to go, you'd be surprised how good it sounds when I do go through the Mesa dual rectifiers or using the 4x12 recto, bypassing the cab sim on the Cortex. This is driving me nuts. Help, Glenn, can you compare somehow and let us all know which one is sonically the correct way to use the device? Powered FR cabs like Friedman, emissions, pedal-friendly solid-state amp into a guitar cab, or through the front of the effects loop or a tube amp. Greetings from LA Sinan.
Whew, that's a lot to unpack, Sinan. Thanks so much for writing in. All right, Quad Cortex. Yeah, great piece. That's the wonderful thing about it. It's flexible enough to be able to use it in several different roles. In your case, you're using it as a preamp into your tube amp and your cabinet. There's nothing wrong with that. If it sounds good, it is good. Yeah, and if you're going into a rectifier cabinet, yeah, chances are it is going to fucking sound good. For as much as I bust Mesa's balls about the cab clone, the actual rectifier 4x12 is the fucking gold standard. There's no doubt about that. So if you're getting good results, stop whining and use that. That being said, if you want to use, the power sections from the amp sims on the Cortex, I'd recommend this. This is the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700. It's 700 watts. It's pretty light, and boy, does this thing ever work amazing. You use a Quad Cortex amp sim into this thing, into a cabinet, that's going to be great. Now, if you're using a regular guitar cabinet with regular guitar speakers, I'd say turn off the IRs on the Quad Cortex. But if you get a full range cabinet, and you want to use the cabinet sims on the Quad Cortex, then you'd use the cabinet sims. That's how that works. There's so many options. That's the thing. When we get something like that, it becomes kind of difficult to determine what's right because we're bogged down with just so many choices. And sometimes a simpler setup, it might be the way to go. It really depends on you and what you can live with. So ask yourself this. Do you want to play guitar or do you just want to fuck around with settings?
Quick question. How were you able to get Reaper audio through OBS? I was able to figure it out on Windows, but not on macOS yet. What's the secret? Cheers.
Actually, I do it 2 different ways. I go through the Blackmagic ATM Mini Pro ISO down here. I run a couple of analog outs into that, and so it's getting converted to analog, then back to digital, and going onto a couple of ISO tracks in a Blackmagic project. That works out great, but I also, as a backup, use ScreenFlow, which is what I do all my tutorials on when I'm working on the screen. That's a magnificent product. It's much better to use than OBS, in my opinion. That was one of the main reasons I switched over to the macOS, is because ScreenFlow is just so much easier to work with. That being said, I think you can use loopback with certain sound cards to get the sound going back into OBS if you're using, say, an RME, or in my case, I also have a Focusrite Red 16 line. It's got 1 channel of loopback, so you can take your computer audio and throw it back into OBS. The thing is, though, OBS is a fucking nightmare, and I really hate using it, and I would definitely recommend ScreenFlow over OBS if you want to do some kind of screen capping videos and you're not doing a live stream. I don't know what your particular situation is, but good luck with it, man. Hopefully this could be of some help at all. All right, guys, as promised, we now have the Cock Blocker plugin up for grabs. It works absolutely amazing. It is my absolute favorite gate plugin on a DAW. I use it all the time. I use it in my live amp demos when I've got a mic coming in from the other room, just to mute it out so it doesn't get caught in this mic way up here. I use it for software, guitar sim demos, and I even use it in full mixes. It's my absolute favorite software gate for heavy metal guitar playing, but don't take my word for it. It's now up for grabs for absolutely free. We've got a 1-week demo. All you got to do is click the link in the description below and get your copy today. Now let's do the Butthurt of the week.
Serves these guys right that put in submissions right being ridiculed for actually wasting their time and bothering to try and be part of such a terrible show.
Yeah, I know. Fuck those guys, right? How dare I try and help them get better results by showing them what they did wrong and how they can improve upon those ideas. How fucking dare I criticize them because they wasted their time going on my shitty show. Here's an idea, Timothy. If you don't like the show, fuck off!
Wind like a bitch when you heard Blade speak. Now your comment is the butthurt of the week.
How many hit singles does this guy have? Right, so why take his advice? Do your own thing, King!
Guilty as fucking charged. I have 0 hit singles under my belt. The only thing I've done of any kind of significance is a couple of groundbreaking black metal albums. And I know that doesn't exactly rocket up the fucking charts, but hey, who gives a shit? The added bonus here is that I'm still working out of my fucking garage studio that I built back in 2003. So that puts me in the same position as the vast majority of people out there who are working in their own home fucking studios. Sure, you can talk to an expert who has multiple platinum records under his belt. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're probably going to get some great advice. But when it comes to developing production skills and working your day-to-day with local bands that don't have any kind of experience in the studio, you're not going to learn that from some guy working out of a Hollywood studio. It's just not going to fucking happen because the musicians there are a much different level than the type of people you're going to be dealing with. So if you don't find that useful, hey, you know what? Best of luck. Move on to another channel. Hopefully you'll find something and somebody with a stack of gold records who's going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just here to give you the truth.
Hey Glenn, you talk a lot of shit on the concept of debt, but the vast majority of functional businesses leverage debt excellently. I'd be very surprised if you're not in debt personally. I think it would be wise for you to elaborate on how debt can be functional instead of only presenting it in a negative light. I understand your motivation is to do so likely based on the fact that most of your audience is full of beginners without debt experience, but a lot of people will not even be able to get started without accumulating some sort of debt. I suspect you believe that this isn't the case because you worked at a factory job in the 80s when the economy was decent, but I really don't think that's reality anymore for the common man.
Jacob, you assume way too much, my friend. Actually, I was a teenager in the 80s. I didn't get my auto worker job till the end of 1993, and that was actually right in the middle of a fucking recession, so there goes that assumption right out the fucking window. All right, so please, Jacob, put down the bong and try and fucking pay attention, because it's time to go to school. When I speak of debt, I'm not talking about, going to get a bank loan and maybe finance a studio or buy your first house or something like that, because usually those can be negotiated to a certain extent and you can get very favorable interest rates. There's nothing wrong with that at all. When I talk about debt, I'm talking about things like credit card debt where they charge you 18, 19, 20% interest for the privilege of owing people money. Fuck that. It's a fucking trap. Don't fall for it. Be smarter than that. I use credit cards all the time for online orders, but I pay that shit off every single month without fail because I'm not going to sit here and be a sucker. I'm not going to pay somebody for the privilege of owing them money. And am I debt free? Yes, I am absolutely fucking debt free. My house is paid for. My car is paid for. You know why? Because I went through life realizing what I could afford and what I needed versus what I wanted. That is the one thing I need to stress to everybody out there watching this show, especially if you're a young person. Ask yourself this: do I need it or do I just merely want it? Like the new MacBooks came out this week and I was looking at it and they look very, very, very promising. And in Canada, it's going to be maybe $5,000 for one of those things. And I'm like, I could get a lot of work done on this, but do I actually need it? And the answer was no. I've got a system that works absolutely fine right now. So I'm going to sit on it for a while and wait till an actual need comes up. I'm also going to wait to talk to a couple of friends who have bought them and ask them about how they like them for video editing, that sort of thing, before I make the decision to make the purchase. In the meantime, I'm going to continue doing my show because I have the equipment already to do that. So don't always be tempted to go buy the newest, latest thing, especially when it comes to things like computers. Wise man once said to me, one of my college professors said this, it was always buy last year's technology because chances are it's going to be really great and cost you a whole lot less money than the newest shiny thing. And above all, don't go into credit card debt to buy that new shiny thing.
You've said many times that dialing on a guitar is different for a mix than dialing for the guitar on its own. Please explain this. What are the differences should guitars keep in mind when writing songs? Does mix require different EQ approach, different amounts and types of gain, different compression rates? I need to know. And is the same true for drums? Cheers from Australia.
Whew. Yeah, well, guitars in a mix definitely sound different than guitars soloed up. Guitars soloed up that would be made for a mix, chances are would sound a little bit thin. Remember, guitar is a very, very wide part of the spectrum, and you need to make room for drums and a bass guitar as well. And if you do it right, the bass guitar can fill up a lot of what the guitar is doing and really becomes half the song. Guitar on its own can sound great, but I'm always looking at how stuff's going to fit into a mix. And yeah, it needs to be much smaller than you would hear normally. Once again, we've got the cock blocker up here, and just for this, I really like that sound. It's large, it's wide. I don't know if I'd actually get around to using it in a mix. I'd probably want to EQ it a little bit different, take a lot of the bottom out, take some of the extreme top out, and then start notching out some resonances, that kind of thing. So yeah, what you would hear in a mix probably be a lot different than what you would hear just on its own. I've also got a stereo widener on that guitar, and I would definitely approach that just a little bit differently in a mix. I might want to throw a little bit stereo widening on it, but it would be a different type for using a stereo track. This is turning a mono signal into a stereo track. It's just a nice little trick I use to make the guitars not sound so small when they're by themselves.
Glenn! How do you feel about drummers adjusting your studio kit according to their specifications, i.e. left-handed drummers, open-handed drummers? Would you possibly do a tutorial of this for some sort? I haven't seen this question asked or answered. If it has, my apologies. I hope you see this and that you're well. Greetings, and don't be rule number 2 from Warren, Ohio.
Hey, Michael, thanks so much for writing in. You know what? In 26 years of recording bands and whatnot, I don't think I've ever had a single left-handed drummer come in. Well, not one that played on a left-handed kit. Anyway, and if that was the case, I'd say, dude, bring your fucking kit in. No problem at all. When I first started out, though, I bought myself a Gibraltar drum cage with the whole idea that drummers were going to want to move stuff and change things around. So I wanted to get something that was very configurable and easy to work with. And, that worked out pretty well. Except for the one time, I see the drummer trying to make an adjustment on the tom. What does he do? Just grabs it, like that, doesn't undo it or anything, just moves it over. And it's like, I caught him doing it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's how you strip the hardware. And it's like, and I'm like, if that strips and I have to replace it, that's going on your bill. Here's an idea. Be a little fucking smarter when you're working with drum hardware that doesn't fucking belong to you. Fuck's sakes. That's one thing I can't stand about musicians is the fucking disrespect that some of them have for stuff that doesn't belong to them. That just fucking pisses me off to no end. Point being is, if you've got bands coming in your studio, keep your eyes on them because they are lazy little bastards who don't give a fuck about what you spent money on.
One thing I love about your videos is that you don't endorse something and just say why it's good. You show us why. You didn't just tell us what cameras are good. You showed us shots through different cameras so we could look and see for ourselves how they look. It's all about evidence.
Well, I try that anyway. I mean, like, sometimes I don't always have everything on hand to be able to run a full test on stuff. But in Tuesday's video there, here's how to make your videos look better. Yeah, I've been collecting cameras for over the years, so I've got tons of them. Yeah, the Canon video on the 60D Mark II isn't all that great. GH5 over here, I use this thing for years and years and years. I'm shooting on a Blackmagic camera right now with a giant monitor because it doesn't have a fucking flip screen like, smart cameras like this have. And I was dumb enough to buy one of those. So, that being said, the Sony a7 IV just got announced this week, and I'm really starting to look at that because it does S-Cinetone, which will speed up my workflow that much more because I won't have to fucking grade it at all, which I think is absolutely fantastic. As for gear coming up, I got to show this. I got a review coming up on this in the next week or two. This is the ISO 1 analog mic preamp. This is actually designed by Rupert Neve. It's very affordable. I'm always talking about, most mic preamps you're not going to be recording Celine Dion with, you're doing metal guitars and whatnot. You don't need to spend a lot on your preamps. This is one of those preamps you'd want to record Celine Dion with because this is going to grab pretty much every single last detail. It's got a whole bunch of connectivity and whatnot. And Focusrite was cool enough to send me a Dante card to go with it. So I'm going to show off some of the Dante capabilities of this thing because I'm just starting getting my feet wet with that system, and oh, is it ever fucking amazing. More on that in another week or two. I will keep you posted. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you get notified about all that shit.
It's amazing how professional filmmakers can do cinematic masterpieces with an iPhone, but musicians are so lazy they have to spend money on a camera because they cannot spend the time to learn to use they already have in their pockets. Do you also need bass players?
Carlos, you must be a bass player because that's the fucking point of the video. Most musicians don't know how to use their fucking cameras. They're going to point their iPhone at something with no idea of what's going on in terms of light or shutter speed or any of that kind of shit, and then wonder why they get such crappy results. Pro filmmakers can take an iPhone and grab an app to turn it to manual mode and get some really fucking amazing results. I mean, I've even shot stuff with the iPhone because it's fucking easy. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't have the knowledge of how cameras work or how to set them up or where to put lights or any of that thing, an iPhone isn't going to fucking help anybody. Was I not fucking clear with this? But yeah, if you want to try out to play bass, yeah, hit me up. Maybe we could have you on the show at some point. Just make sure your video doesn't suck.
Wow, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube on the subject from all the so-called video experts over the years. Never seen such well-explained examples. Learned a lot just now watching this. A wealth of info in here. You need to teach more of this. Thanks, Clint.
Yeah, this kind of ties in with the Butthurt of the week. Oh, this guy's never had a hit single. Well, here's the thing. I did shoot professionally for Chrysler for a number of years. I shot video and I shot still. So yeah, as a video and photo guy, I probably could do some more lessons on this if you guys are interested, because I think there's an interesting juxtaposition of different disciplines going on right now where you can't be just an audio guy. You need to have more skills than just that, because we're now in a multimedia kind of world. I mean, I remember talking with an OER grad at the beginning of last summer. He's like, Glenn, do you need to hire anybody? And I'm like, yes. Can you edit video? And he's like, no, but I can do audio. And I'm like, well, I don't need somebody who can do audio. There's a lot of people out there who can do audio. Why can't you fucking edit video? That's a question you need to ask yourself. So maybe I should teach a few tutorials on that. I mean, I'm not interested in changing the overall focus of the channel. I love video work. I've always loved working with video, even since way back in 1989 when I first started in film school. Always had a blast with it. I was dumb enough when I got hired at Chrysler that, oh, I'm going to open up a recording studio because that'll be affordable and easy. Wow, was that ever naive? Holy fuck. Anyway, yeah, I love doing video work. If you guys want to see some more video stuff on the show, please let me know. Hopefully some of you guys got some use out of that. But that being said, I've also got my new tutorial series on recording drums coming up. I did it with Cam Fleury in conjunction with Sweetwater and Pearl, and that one's going to be really great as well. Bottom line here is there's a lot of tutorials coming because I'd rather give something back to the community than just completely do gear reviews all the time, because I find that shit kind of fucking boring, to be honest with you. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love playing with new gear. It's great. It's a lot of fun. But I think you guys might get a lot more benefit out of things if I'm actually teaching you how to do stuff. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think? Leave a comment below.
Ha! Sounds like Blackmagic is the new Line 6.
Of course, you're referencing my little rant there about Blackmagic not putting flip screens on their cameras, no matter how much we beg them to do. Here's the thing. Line 6 fucking listened and improved the Spider 5 Mark II. It was a massive leap ahead of the Spider 5 Mark I. Not only did I not take a sledgehammer to it, I said, hey, you know what? This is actually not half bad. And the Pod Go, that was a great piece of gear. I was very impressed with that. So Line 6 definitely stepped up their game. Hopefully the powers that be at Blackmagic can take a fucking hint.
I can connect my Sony camera that doesn't have a flip screen to my phone. That works for me. Also, I have a cheap external screen that mounts on the top. That works for me too.
Well, hey, you know what? The GH5, even though it has a flip screen, I'd connect it and remote control it from my phone all the time. The only problem is there is latency when you do that, so you're not really getting updated, and then the thing will disconnect at random times, can be a real giant pain in the ass. I even mentioned in the video, if you'd been fucking paying attention, clearly you weren't, is that yes, you can do flip screens, but that's added cost, that's added stuff to go wrong, that's batteries you gotta keep charged, that's extra cables, it's a whole bunch of extra bullshit you're not gonna wanna fucking deal with when it's so easy for a camera company to just put a fucking flip screen on their camera. As mentioned in the video, once again, put down the bong and fucking pay attention. Even Sony finally got smart on this and started putting flip screens on their new cameras. The A6400 had it, the FX3, the A7S3, and now the A7 IV. They've all got flip screens. So my next camera, I'm probably looking at a Sony, because even though Canon has the same kind of features, the Sonys don't overheat. Oh, that, and I bought one of those new Siri anamorphic lenses in Sony E-mount because even though I've only got the A7S Mark I that's like about 6-7 years old by now, it'll fit that, and it's a 1.6 squeeze. So I definitely want to do a few anamorphic videos in here because I really dig that look.
I feel like I've learned more from this than I have on channels that solely focus on video and photo production. Everything was explained in a way just about anyone could understand and just in depth enough to get the point across. Very well done, good sir.
Hey, you know what? Super happy to help out. I think this goes back to my auto worker days where I'd have to teach people how to do a job, and a lot of that was teaching people finesse. So you don't want to overload people with information. You want to give them enough that they can sink their teeth into it without overdoing it. And again, when you're an auto worker, you have to learn how to get to the point because you have to do everything in 40-second increments. So you just don't have time for bullshit. That's kind of always been my philosophy. Fuck the context, get to the point. Bottom line, life's too fucking short for bullshit, so I try and make the best videos I can in the least amount of time possible. Glad you enjoyed it. All right, everybody, before we wrap it up, we're going to try something new this week. This was suggested to me by, I can't remember who the hell said it, but I thought it was a good idea and at least possibly worth a try. We're going to do the feel-good comment of the week and try and leave on a bit of a lighter note. Let's see what's in store here.
Thanks, I will do that. By the way, I'm one of the silent majority that has watched pretty much since the beginning, but this is the first time I've made comments. I think there's a huge group of us out there who watch every video without any interaction or feedback. I have several other musician friends who, like myself, have been at it playing gigs for many years, and we often discuss your videos. We like your no-nonsense approach where you just tell it like it is, regardless of the butthurt people chasing teen dreams, rather than getting a real job and building a life where your job can support your music. Thanks again.
Hey, Rick, thanks so much for writing in. You know what? I do take a lot of shit for a lot of the videos I do, but it really makes it worthwhile when I get comments like that. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for all your support over the years. I'm eternally grateful for all you guys who are out there in the silent majority who don't chime in, but just watch week after week with video after video. You guys are the reason I do this, and I'm ever so grateful to every single one of you guys. And once again, I know we brought in a lot of subscribers over the last couple days with that video tutorial video. If you guys want to see more tutorials, I'm more than happy to make them. They take a little bit longer to do, so I might not be able to do 3 videos a week. If I'm down to 2, that's fine. As long as you guys keep coming back, I'll keep making them. All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who came in as a new subscriber. You guys are more than welcome. Happy to have you on board. And don't forget, go grab that copy of the Cock Blocker demo. It's absolutely free to try out for a week. All you got to do is follow the link in the description below. I'm out of here. Serves these guys that put in submissions, right, being ridiculed for actually wasting their time and bothering to be tried part of a show. Oh, that was fucking terrible.